Hello, guys. This is the Perpetuating Party of Patriots. Here today with another tier list video, but this one's different because for this one, I'm just gonna use the audio recorder that I use for my videos, like the commentaries and shit like that. And I already made the tier list. Like I have all the certain like shows and certain spots and stuff. But before I explain what this tier list is, if you hear my cousin decide to fucking beat the shit out of the drums in the basement, I apologize for that. But yeah, if you're asking what this tier list is, I forget what the exact title was, but I'll tell you, it basically contains pretty much just any type of genre or type of show you can think of. Like, it contains cartoons, it contains live action shows, it contains animes, and it mainly consists of shows from Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, and the Disney Channel, or multiple Disney channels. I think it's more than just that, but I also noticed there's other shows from different companies or like different networks or so. So yeah, I figured I'd specify that. If you're asking what I'm gonna do for this one, I'm basically just gonna basically it's well, as you can see by the tiers, we have favorites, great, good, alright, in parentheses, couldn't get into, I'll explain that in a minute. Meh tier, and bad, which is the bottom tier. Now I might as well explain what these tiers are. Favorites, very self-explanatory. I have this tier on like literally every tier list that I make. So, yeah, basically these are just like the exceptional shows. The ones that I really freaking like compared to the other ones. And, yeah, the great tier is basically the tier where there are shows that I really love. Like, every show in the great tier I think is a very solid show, but it didn't quite break into my favorites tier because while they are great, I don't watch them or like watching them as much as the top tier ones. So, yeah, that explains that. And good tier, basically, this is just shows that I think are very high quality shows and ones that I think are very good, but I wouldn't quite put in great or especially not in my favorites tier. So that explains that. All right, in parentheses, shouldn't get into. Okay, this one I might need to explain some stuff about. This is basically the tier where I don't think any of the shows in this tier are bad per se, but I don't like them a whole lot. Where it's to the point where, yeah, I've tried watching them, and I mean, they're not bad by any means, or really that bad, and they do have qualities going for them, but I just really couldn't. I just can't see myself coming back to them that often, so yeah, that explains that one. Mid tier, again, kind of self explanatory, and I may need to explain this one a bit, but this is basically shows that I'm just like, I don't think they're horrible, and I don't think they're that bad necessarily, but yeah, they don't have a whole lot of stuff going for them either. So yeah, I just have to say that meh. Bad tier, very self-explanatory. Just shows that I just find bad, and I just do not like watching. Now here we are going to explain some of the like top shows on the tier list, I'm going to try to go by every show on here that I have something to say about in the least. Okay, so as you see right at the top, and the first one in this tier goes from left to right, we have Invader Zim. I've talked about Invader Zim so fucking much on my channels that I don't really think I even need to explain why I love the show so much, but to basically summarize it, it has very entertaining characters, it has very good humor, and just it's pretty much just a great show all around. And it did last for only like less than 30 episodes, but it was a pretty damn good run while it lasted. South Park is the next one. Well, this isn't like in exactly how I feel about them order, like how I'd rank them as opposed to each other, but yeah, South Park is the next one. Again, I've talked about South Park before on my channels, and I really like the show. I'm just gonna be honest, it's one of the few adult cartoons that I'd say I really like, and I also just find funny, because I feel like a lot of adult cartoons, mainly in the modern era, I think they rely way too much on just trying to be a just trying to be as adult as possible, and don't even try to like come up with any clever jokes, just as much sets and nasty shit as possible. But South Park is not that. It has very funny and well written jokes, and again, it's just a funny show. And when it comes to the politics side of things, I think it's kind of pretty hit or miss, but leaning more towards hits than misses. I mean, there are some stuff when it comes to politics that I disagree with on this show, mainly in the episode Cripple Fight, where they basically say that they should let the Boy Scouts basically discriminate against gay people. That's pretty much what the message was, because freedom's a two-way street. We shouldn't force our way of thinking onto them. Like, I thought that was a really bad mindset, but they also have some really good, I guess you'd say, political takes. But again, South Park is just a really funny and charming show, so yeah, it's one of my favorites. The next one is Danny Phantom. I've kind of talked about this one too. It's one of my personal favorite Nickelodeon shows. The first two seasons are very great. They're probably among some of my favorite seasons of shows. One is great. Two is probably the best one, and I know some of the fan base hates season 3, but personally, I actually really liked season 3. Yeah, again, there are some things that they could have easily done better, in my opinion, but like especially the ending. I mean, I thought the ending episode was good as an episode, but it was weak as a finale. I'll just say that. But again, season 3 still had some really good ones, like Urban Jungle. That was a great one, and I also really liked the Frightmare episode. But yeah, the next one we kind of had, which is kind of funny. We have the original Ben 10 series. Now, Alien Force and Ultimate Alien are not on this tier list, which sucks because I would have loved to rank them somewhere. But speaking on the behalf of the original show, again, I really like this show. It is. I don't know if I'd say it's really that similar to Danny Phantom, and it's definitely not a ripoff. There's definitely differences between them, but yeah, I think I might get some shit for this from some people, but I think I might actually like Ben 10 a little bit more than Danny Phantom. Yeah, Ben 10's writing, when it comes to at least the original series, admittedly in some areas it definitely could be described as a bit childish, but it's not really the annoying type of childish that's just kind of a, oh my god, make it fucking stop type of stuff. I think it actually adds to the really fun nature of the show, and it definitely did have some pretty dark stuff in it too, like Vilgax. He's a fucking terrifying villain, and yeah, I thought this show was really good for the most part. 1 is decent, 2 and 3 are great, and 4 is mostly pretty solid. Although, again, its finale I could kind of throw in the same boat as Danny Phantom's, but I thought it was at least a little bit of a better finale than Danny Phantom's. But yeah. The next one we have is Avatar. Okay, this one's kind of a very weird one to explain for me, because this has got to be like Nickelodeon's most beloved show. I mean, I know SpongeBob's technically the most popular, but Avatar has a 9.3 out of 10 on IMDb. I think that goes without saying that a lot of people love this show, and the thing is, I agree. It's a very great show, and that's why it's in my favorites tier. I think it's a very well written show, had a great story, great characters, had a lot of depth to it, but I don't watch it nearly as much as the other ones, but I'll give it credit where credit is due. Avatar is a freaking great show, I will say that. And again, I think it's at least worthy of my favorites, because, again, while I don't watch it often, when I do, I do really like it. Okay, the next one we have is The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. I basically view this as Cartoon Network's version of Invader Zim, and while I liked Zim more than this show, again, I really like this show. Again, very entertaining characters, very funny writing, and again, I just liked the show for the most part. Now, I do think seasons 5 and 6 are a bit weaker than 1 through 4, but again, 5 and 6 still have some good stuff to them, so I'm not hating on the show. But yeah, again, its finale again could have been better. Well, I mean, it's not exactly like a story-driven show, so I don't know, but again, Grim Adventures is a good show. Okay, now the next one, as you can see, is Hey Arnold. It's probably one of the few Nickelodeon shows that has 5 or more seasons that stayed good or even great throughout all five. Yeah, Hey Arnold is like by far one of my favorite Nickelodeon shows. Probably like fourth or fifth if I had to pick one. But yeah. Again, I it or okay, I'm kind of stuttering here, but the way I describe it is I've given my opinion on Dud, but Hey Arnold, I think is basically Dud done correctly, or it's done well. Like, my main issue with Dud, which we'll get to that once we get to the meds here, because you can see it there, but again, the thing that Hey Arnold has going for it is it has very entertaining characters, very well written characters, it's a funny show. Its life lessons are very entertaining and just very good from a moral standpoint, I guess you'd say, and again, the episodes are very consistently good throughout all five seasons. I think there's only like one or two that I could really say I didn't like. The main one that I didn't like was, okay, I know this one's hated, but I can't really disagree with people on Arnold Betrays Iggy. That one's a really bad one, although I know there's another one that people tend to really dislike, a New Bully on the Block, but I'm kind of in that weird group of people that actually liked that one. I mean, it wasn't fantastic, but I don't know, there was something about that one that I liked, but yeah, Hey Arnold's a great show. Okay, the next show we have is Codename Kisner's Door, which is, again, another Cartoon Network show, and again, we're still in the favorites, we're kind of reaching the end there, but yeah, I think Codename Kisner's Door I think more highly of it than I did back in the day, because the way I describe Codename Kisner's Door is, it's kind of like, I guess you'd say the world POV of a child, but it's kind of, I guess you'd say exaggerated into a James Bond espionage spy style. I know it sounds weird hearing me say espionage, but again, that's basically how it is. And again, it's just really entertaining seeing the point of view, I guess you'd say, from how like a child would view the world. And yeah, the show's funny too. Like the episode Operation Support, that one's a really funny episode. And again, this is another one of those shows that has 5 or more seasons that stayed great throughout. Now, again, you'd think a show with more than 5 seasons would have gone downhill at some point, and for the most part, usually that does happen. But Codename Kisner's Door, season 1 was great, 2 was great, 3 was great, 4 was great, 5 was great, and even 6 was great. And I think I've heard some great stuff about the finales too. I haven't quite seen them, but I have that complete series set of it, so I'll watch it at some point. But again, I think I've talked long enough about Codename Kisner's Door. Just to sum it up, it's one of my favorite Cartoon Network shows. Okay, the next show we have is The Adventures of Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius. Now, this one I'm kind of cheating here, and you'll probably get to know why I would suggest that when we talk about some of the later shows, why they're not in this tier. But season 1 of Jimmy Neutron was kinda I'm just gonna be honest. Now, season 1 was not bad per se. Like, I didn't think it was a bad season. And there were plenty of episodes that I liked. Like, The Empire Strikes Back, The Phantom of Retroland, Wooden Pants Attack. I liked Normal Boy, and there was some other episodes I liked. Sorry Ron Arrow was another good one, but to the people who say that Jimmy Neutron is repetitive, I'm convinced that the only season they watched is 1, and they just stopped there. Because, yeah, season 1 is, like, by far the most repetitive season of the show. Although, once season 2 rolls around, it becomes one of, in my opinion, the best niche shows. Like, season 2 was a pretty huge fucking step up from, season 1. Like, season 2, not only did the characters improve and have a lot more character development in this season, but again, the plots just got way more epic than season 1. It became a lot less formulaic, and again, the episodes in season 2 are just really fun to watch. And I've told you guys this before, but season 3 is my favorite season of the show, and unfortunately, it got canceled there. But yeah, if anyone says they don't like Jimmy Neutron and have only seen season 1, I'd suggest or I'd recommend watching seasons 2 and 3. You might end up liking it by the end, but yeah, not forcing you. I'm just saying that I think seasons 2 and 3 of Jimmy Neutron are genuinely great. Anyways, I think we talked enough about Jimmy Neutron. Now on to the last Nickelodeon show in this tier, that being SpongeBob SquarePants. Yet again, I am kind of cheating with this one, because you guys know what I think of season 6 and 7. I think those seasons are just genuinely among some of the worst seasons of pretty much any cartoon. Well, I mean, they're not that bad necessarily, but like when it comes to just like the technical side of things, but I just really don't like those two seasons. However, 1 through 4 are freaking great. Season 5 is good. Season 8 is at least decent to an extent. 9 through 11 are all great as well. And again, you guys know what I think of SpongeBob. I just think it's easily one of my favorite shows of all time. It's, for the most part, it's a very well written show. The characters are very enjoyable, and again, it's just a great cartoon that pretty much I'd suggest it to anyone or recommend to anyone. Now, on to the last show in this tier, and I know the watermark that you get when you make tier makers covering it up, but for some reason you don't know what it is. It's Teen Titans. That's the last show in this tier. Uh, yeah, again, the way that I talked about Teen Titans is basically kind of how I talked about Ben 10 and Danny Phantom before. I think Teen Titans is a very solid, again, 2000s action cartoon. The characters are very entertaining. The writing, while not like the funniest shit ever, it did have some very nice highlights. And again, it's at least a decently written show at worst. But yeah, and again, I like the characters. The plots are very entertaining. And again, it's just, I really like this show, even if I do think the fan base does take it a bit too far. But again, I just really liked this show, and it stayed good for the most part. So there's that too. Okay, I've rambled on quite a bit about the favorites tier. Now I'm gonna go on to a different recording for the other tiers.